Ringside crew. Welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. And now here's your host, Joe, Panther the Third.
Hello there, wrestling fans, and welcome to another episode of the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. And today, Ringside crew, you're in for a treat. Today is our first interview. Yay! Well, we first interviewing our friends from the Canadian country. Let's give a warm Dudes at Ringside welcome to my guest today, the Headline. Welcome, brother. Welcome to Dudes at Ringside podcast.
Hi there, Joe. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, how did you get your start in the professional wrestling business?
My beginnings isn't really a whole lot different than the majority of people's beginnings. It all started when I was 5 years old, and I saw Hulk Hogan, and I decided that I wanted to be like that man. So I've pretty much made my entire life into trying to obtain this goal, and here we are.
Awesome. So what is it like to for a week of a show for you? What is it normally like? The scheduling, what is it like between your training and the shows? How is that how do you plan that out as a wrestler?
How do I plan out the training and whatnot? Well, it's quite an ordeal. There's a lot of meal prep that goes into it. Obviously, you don't always have the access when you're on the road in order to be able to cook home cooked meals, and it gets really expensive and kind of diet crushing in order to be eating out all the time. So there's a lot of meal prep that goes into it. You always got to get your times in the gym. A lot of the times we're getting into the gym at 5 a.m. in order to be able to get on the road and get to the next town.
Awesome. So who is some of your you said Hulk Hogan, but other than Hogan, who are some of your other inspirations for the this character of yours? Who some ideas do they come from?
I'm a big fan of a lot of the 80s heels. So you would think of guys like Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, Shane Douglas, if we're moving into the 90s, Triple H, so on and so forth, those types of guys.
Awesome. So when you finally got into this business, when you went to your first day of training, what was going through your mind?
Oh man, I don't even really remember, to be honest with you, Joe. That was over 20 years ago.
Wow. So who trained you? Who was your first trainer?
I trained with a few people. Originally, I was trained by the fake Razor Ramon in the 90s, Rick Bogner. And then I went on to train in Edmonton with Massive Damage and Phil LaFawn.
So what kind of advice did they give you when you decided, when you first went into before your first show? What kind of advice did they give you?
Don't do this. You're making horrible life choices. Honestly, I don't remember. I can't recall that show. I could make something up on the spot, but that's not what you're looking for.
I get it. Don't worry. So when you're on the road, what is your favorite to do? I know you guys travel weird hours to get to places for shows, but what is it for you? The local food cuisine when you go to the show, or is it the chain food, or do you to eat at the shows?
Oh, like I said, it gets pretty wallet crushing and diet crushing in order to be eating out all the times. We do a lot of eating at a local Canadian Japanese fast food place called Edo here. I like to hit Qdobas if I'm going to eat out, but a lot of the times I like to meal prep.
Have you ever thought of traveling to America? And if you have, where's your favorite place to wrestle? East Coast or West Coast?
All of my stuff in the U.S. has been done in the Midwest, so I can't really speak on either coast. Actually, that's not true. I have wrestled on the West Coast, so I guess right now it would have to be the West Coast. But if there's any East Coast promoters that want to do business, let me know. Yeah, I'm pretty centrally based, so.
I live in Pennsylvania, like in the Poconos, and there's a few groups that I could suggest you to like. I'll definitely give you their Instagrams. There's one, it's PPW in Slatington, PA, which they have a really good roster, like a lot of good
Right.
wrestlers that are there. It's a smaller one called Smash Master Wrestling. Yes, I said wrestling. You
Okay.
say there. There's a small one called House of Pain that has a training school also. He's not there anymore. He's formerly NWA Rambo. John Rambo used to own that promotion.
Okay.
And in New York, there's NYWC, New York Wrestling Connection. There's VPW.
Yep.
And there's Hog, and then there's Outlaw.
Right.
Yeah. So with us being in the year 2024, like what were some of your highlights in 2023?
Some of my highlights in 2023. Well, we did quite a bit. I ended up with about 153 matches in 2023, so there's quite a bit to talk about. Some of my highlights were challenging for the Canadian Wrestling's Elite Heavyweight Championship against Mentolo, as well as a lot of the high-profile guys that I got to work up against. Guys like James Storm, Hernandez, Shark Boy, Rhino,
Wow.
Eric Rowan.
Wow. You had a big year, man. All I can hear is Tina Turner Simply the Best when you said that highlight right there. You had some good highlights in 2023. So what are you like let's talk about the show you have really coming up. Like let's talk about that show. You said a show you have coming up.
Okay, well, as this is coming out, we are embarking on the Canadian Wrestling's Elite 15th Anniversary Tour. It's going to be, I believe, 12 dates spanning from Yorkton, Saskatchewan, throughout Saskatchewan, Alberta, and then back towards Manitoba. So it's going to be our biggest tour since post-pandemic. So we're really looking forward to that.
Wow. So I saw your robe and I was like, man, your robes are all phenomenal, but who made them?
It's a secret.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, no, if I gave up my seamstress, everybody'd have cool robes like that, and we can't have that, right?
Yeah, no. Just it made me go back to the movie that just came out like in 2023. Everybody, the Iron Claw. It gave me a lot of like Texas Tornado feelings, the way they're cut and stuff like that. But then his entire tie up. So yeah, they gave me a lot of like Kerry Barnerick feelings when I saw that when I saw your robe.
Yeah, it's definitely the whole idea behind the robe. A lot of fans like to snap at me about Ric Flair or Bobby Roode, but that's not the case at all. It's a harken back to the days of the 80s heels and the robes that they would wear. If you think of all the 80s heels, they'd all have glorious robes like that. Greg Valentine, Rick Rude, Tully Blanchard, Ric Flair, Buddy Landell. So it's not any harken to one specific character. It's harken to a timepiece.
I get you. So let's in closing, if any of my fans would like to pick up any of your merch, how can they find it?
They can find it by messaging me on Instagram at Headline Shaun Martens, or I have a pro wrestling tee store as well, Headline Shaun Martens. I'm sure you all know how to get to pro wrestling tees and how to navigate that. Or find me on Facebook at Shaun Martens.
Awesome. Before we go, if there was any kids watching the show, hey guys, and they wanted to get into the wrestling business, what kind of advice would you give them?
Don't do it.
Don't. Shaun, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it and help me open the year with my awesome Canadian wrestlers. I'm Joe Panther III.
I'm Headline Shaun Martens.
And we will catch you in the next one. Have a nice day or have a good night.